Welcome back to the Wrestling Highlights of the Week edition of the My Two Cents podcast. I am going to be covering the highlights of Raw, NXT, AEW, Impact, and SmackDown. Now, if you haven't watched all these wrestling promotions, wrestling shows of the week, this is the show that will give you the highlights of what happened throughout the week on each show, and also I will be divulging some wrestling backstage talk from one particular company, WWE, over a controversy that happened this week over one very high up person getting fired, but I'll speak to that whenever the time comes about. But let me get on with reading of the highlights of each show as they went on in the week. So on Monday night, you had Monday Night Raw. Drew McIntyre called out MVP to answer for did he have Mace and T-Bar come and attack him last week after his match in the triple threat last week. MVP came out. He said he had no idea. He told Drew McIntyre, remember, you challenged people in the back whenever I put the bounty out. Well, whenever the Hurt Business put the bounty out on you. Remember, you challenge people. So you might have made some enemies in the back. So he just blatantly denied it. And as MVP walked closer to the ring talking, Drew McIntyre got out the ring and he was getting close to MVP, but out of nowhere, T-Bar and Mace attacked him. So that's set up for a match later in the night of Drew McIntyre going against Mace and T-Bar in a handicap match. The next thing after that was a rematch of Viking Raiders going against Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander. It was the same watch, rinse, and repeat match, almost verbatim. Not even gonna say verbatim, but it was the same repeat match of last week with the same end results of the Viking Raiders getting the win. The next thing you saw was Randy Orton being interviewed, and he was talking about how he's next in line for the WWE Championship and how Drew McIntyre got lucky in the triple threat match. But out of nowhere, Matt Riddle came riding around on his little scooter, being childlike, constantly just talking around Randy Orton. Randy Orton didn't pay no attention. He just walked away. The next thing you see, Randy Orton is talking to Adam Pearce, and he tells Adam Pearce that he wants a match with Matt Riddle later tonight on Raw. He told him just to make it happen, and that later in the night, you will get Matt Riddle going against Randy Orton. Charlotte had a promo. She was basically saying how she was glad that she interrupted the match last week between Asuka and Rhea Ripley, how she's supposedly next for the Raw Women's Championship, how she got screwed of not being at WrestleMania, and blah, blah, blah. Asuka and Rhea Ripley came out, and Asuka just basically told her, tonight I'm going to hurt you. Okay, that was basically what that was. You get your Matt Riddle versus Randy Orton match. It was showcasing a Riddle, seeing how he plays off with Orton, if you would call that, with this match. Either way, Randy Orton did lose to Riddle by pinfall. One thing that did seem that they did want to do was showcase Riddle as a submission specialist, because in the beginning parts of the match, Riddle would just put Randy Orton in a chokehold, a sleeper hold, and Randy couldn't get himself out of it. He would constantly try to until he got under the bottom ropes and he slid out of the ring. That's how Randy got out of the sleeper hold. But this match was trying to pinpoint, Riddle is a goofball, but you need to take him serious when it gets time to go into the professional wrestling ring. Naomi and Lana beat Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax because Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke came out onto the ring. They showed the clip of Nia Jax trying to get on the ring last week, get up on the apron and slipping and falling off. Nia got upset. She tried to go to the back and chase off Mandy and Dana, which left Shayna by herself with Naomi and Lana. And that's how Naomi and Lana got the win, because dividing and conquer. But Naomi and Lana did beat Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax by pinfall. Miz TV Miz was out there with his wife Maurice. They were talking about how they were happy, and Miz was taking credit for Bad Bunny. Miz was taking credit for Miz and Mrs. and such. Nothing really important until Damian Priest came out. He said he wanted to face the Miz later. Maurice basically granted him that match, and Damian got his match with the Miz later in the night. You got Elias did go against Kofi Kingston. It was a great little one-on-one match, but the little nuanced thing that happened in this match was instead of Xavier Woods, he would usually come out with his trombone, which he calls Francesca Turbo. And I say turbo because Xavier Woods in the past has had different Francescas, different trombones that he would name Francesca. He still kept with the name Francesca, but he just has now, at least for this appearance, he came out with a bass guitar and he was playing little music on the bass guitar, and he played a little bit of Stone Cold Steve Austin's entrance on the bass, and at that was funny to me because A&E just had a day before a biography about Austin, and I'm gonna get into that later. Let me just roll on. But Elias did beat Kofi Kingston by diving elbow. Very Macho Man, Randy Savage like. I mean, that elbow looks smooth. So if I would to give that to anybody, that elbow drop as a finish, Elias, I would say he should take that and just run with it. WWE should just let him just continue to take that. Next thing on the list was Alexa talking to the camera about her little doll, Lily, and how she's always been there, and WWE posted photos of Alexa as a small child, and then you kind of see the doll in those photos. So they kind of photoshopped it in to not really, to make it seem like she's always had this doll. You can't, yeah. Anyway, the point being is this: Alexa told the Raw Women's Division that she's coming and that Lily doesn't like certain people, and whenever it's your time, she's coming to get you. That's basically what the whole promo was about. Now it's time for Drew McIntyre going against T-Bar and Mace. They had their little handicap match until T-Bar and Mace got too much for Drew, and then Braun Strowman came out, and effectively this turned into a tag team match now. And now you had Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman going against T-Bar and Mace, and it ended in a disqualification because Drew McIntyre was going against Mace, and he took off Mace's mask. It was very Bane-esque mask, if you will. When you look at them, you'll see what I'm talking about. He takes off Mace's mask, and him and Mace are having to stare down with one another, and Drew smacks Mace in the face with the mask, and the referee decides to call disqualification, which is basically stupid. You're gonna take off the man's mask and hit him with it, and the referee calls it disqualification. It's stupid on the ref's part, but I get what they're trying to get here. Because next week you got Drew McIntyre and Braun Strowman yet again going against Mace and T-Bar, and hopefully this time they'll keep the stupid mask off of T-Bar and Mace, because we know T-Bar underneath the mask is Donovan Dijakovic, which his name was in NXT. And the guy Mace is Brendan Williams, who was a Raw announcer, I'll give it 2 years ago, but then he got F5'd through the announce table by Brock Lesnar 2 years ago, and you didn't see from him ever again. So I hope they keep the stupid mask off of them. Yeah, keep them with the stupid names. I wouldn't do it, but WWE's got to WWE it. You get your Damian Priest versus The Miz match. Damian Priest beats The Miz by pinfall. Nothing real special. Sheamus does have an open challenge. He wanted to have an open challenge because Adam Pearce earlier in the show told him that we had a guy named John Cena who basically had an open challenge for his United States Championship. And you should try to follow in the footsteps. Sheamus says, I'm not going to follow in the footsteps of somebody else. I'm going to mark my own footsteps, and I'm going to do it my way. Yes, I'm going to have an open challenge, but it's not going to be for the United States Championship. So He's out there. He's saying, "Oh, anybody that wants to come out here and fight, come on." And the first guy that comes out is Humberto Carrillo. He's a guy that appears on 205 from time to time, and he appears up on main event. But he's really just now reduced down to these type of things. You need him just to be a beat down object for somebody, and this is what happens. He gets beat down by Sheamus, and Sheamus leaves with the championship. The match never really even happens. And in the main event, you got Asuka going against Charlotte Flair, and Asuka beats Charlotte by pinfall, but Rhea Ripley did interfere and distract Charlotte, because when Charlotte had Asuka in the figure eight, which is basically the figure four, but Charlotte bridges herself up, and that what makes it an eight. Rhea Ripley swiped at Charlotte's hand, and she made Charlotte break from the bridge. So basically, make Charlotte lose all her focus and let go of the whole figure four as a whole. And now you got Charlotte looking at Rhea Ripley, and now she's distracted, and Asuka rolls her up, gets the pinfall, get the 1-2-3, and there you have it. Asuka beats Charlotte, and now you have Charlotte in the ring, crazed out, and now she attacks the referee. She constantly attacks the referee over and over again. And what leads this into is on Raw Talk later throughout the night, which is on the Peacock, you come to find out that Charlotte is now suspended storyline wise, and she's been fined $100,000 storyline wise again. I'm not sure what they want to do with this whole Charlotte thing. She just came back from vacation. I mean, yeah, sure, you can do something, but right now, to my mind, I don't know what you would do with this whole thing, but I'll give it the benefit of the doubt. Now on Tuesday, NXT, Kyle O'Reilly opened the show. He had a promo. He talked about how he's happy to rid Adam Cole, how he's feeling like his true self. He feels like he can now go after any championship that he feels like. He playfully calls out Johnny Gargano, and then he made a time reference towards the NXT champion, Karrion Kross. But then he gets interrupted by Cameron Grimes, Cameron Grimes is now trying to manage Kyle O'Reilly. And Kyle O'Reilly's playing it up with him, chummy, and he tells him that I came to the arena today and I found out that I have a match. And Kyle O'Reilly's just constantly just looking around, the whole thing, letting Cameron Grimes ponder, okay, who is your match going to be with? Kyle O'Reilly puts sunglasses on, and he looks at Cameron Grimes and tells him it's going to be you, and he punches Cameron in the face. So that's how they leave that segment. When they come back from commercial break, it is now LA Knight going against Dexter Lumis, and LA Knight beats Dexter Lumis because Indy Hartwell was there on the opposite side of the barricade. She was just staring at Dexter, and Dexter and her had the locking of eyes, and LA Knight was able to take advantage of that, hit Dexter Lumis with his finish, and cover him for the 1-2-3. After this match, you had Beth Phoenix interviewing Io Shirai, and Io Shirai was talking about how she was going to take a break because she held on to that NXT Women's Championship for so long, and now after her loss by Raquel, she's happy to just be able to take a break, get her mind right, get her body right, and whenever she comes back, she's going to take her NXT Women's Championship. As she is saying all this, Frankie Monet, formerly Taya, just want to keep you guys aware of who this person is chasing after her dog because her dog jumped up on the table and interrupted the interview. And she grabs her dog and she introduces herself towards Io Shirai. And she tells Io Shirai, listen, you're going to be out for a minute. I get it. Go ahead, take your time. You were a great NXT Women's Champion. But just to let you know, I'm going to be here. I'm going to be challenging for the NXT Women's Championship. I'm going to be the best wrestler while you're gone. And then when you happen to be coming back, I'll be here waiting for you to come after the NXT Women's Championship once I win it. Io Shirai just stands up, looks at her and her dog and says, I like cats, and just leaves. So that's leading you down to Frankie Monet, more or less, is going to be her first match, is going to be against Io Shirai. And I mean like a first big time match, not like a first match like, okay, I'm in this match against a scrub. I'm talking about a big time match with somebody. That's Frankie Monet's more or less going to be her first task when she like really gets in the ring. Next thing that happens on NXT was Grizzled Young Veterans going against Breezango. Grizzled Young Veterans beat Breezango. It was a nice little tag match. They let Grizzled Young Veterans get their win to let them climb up the tag team title opportunity rankings. Next thing you have was the newly signed Japanese sensation Sarai going against Zoe Stark. And if I'm going to be honest with you, this is the best women's match this week. Sarai and Zoe Starks was the best women's wrestling match this week. If you want to look at it, get Peacock, because I know it's on there. And if you can find it somewhere else on the internet without having to go to Peacock, I would suggest doing it. It's a great match either way. Sarai beats Zoe Starks, and just because this is now showcasing who Sarai is and also letting Zoe Starks also get more of that shine, because NXT is trying to put Zoe Starks as one of their newer talents as well with Sarai. So Sarai beats Zoe Starks by pinfall, and after the match, Zoe Starks gets beat down by Toni Storm, and Sarai makes the save. So next thing you know, you're going to more than likely see Sarai going against Toni Storm down the line. Next match was Kushida having himself an open challenge for the Cruiserweight title against anybody, and Oni Lorcan, one half of the former NXT Tag Team Champions, come out, and him and Kushida have a nice little match, but Kushida beats Oni Lorcan by submission, and he locks him in the hoverboard lock, which is basically a Kimura lock, but Kushida has his own way of doing the Kimura lock. Okay. After the match, Legado del Fantasma comes out and attacks Kushida. And inside, in the group that's in Legado del Fantasma is Santos Escobar, Raul Mendoza, and Joaquin Wilde. Sorry. Thought of the actor for a minute, but Joaquin Wilde. All three of those men attack Kushida, and MSK comes out to make the save. So next week, you have the NXT Tag Champions, MSK, and the NXT Cruiserweight Champion, Kushida, going against Legado del Fantasma. The next match was Imperium going against Everrise. It was a real quick match. Imperium gets the win over Everrise. And then in the main event, you have Kyle O'Reilly versus Cameron Grimes. But before Kyle O'Reilly goes out to make his entrance, as he's walking towards the stage, he sees Karrion Kross, and him and Kross have a stare down between one another. And this is letting the fans get wet their whistles, like, okay, we might see Kyle O'Reilly going against Karrion Kross down the future somewhere soon. Anyway, he makes his entrance, and now you have Cameron Grimes going against Kyle O'Reilly. That one was a great match too, a great main event to end off a nice show for NXT. And Kyle O'Reilly gets the win. He beats Cameron Grimes by pinfall. AEW on Wednesday, first match, Hangman versus Ricky Starks. Hangman beats Ricky Starks by submission, and now they're trying to make it a point that Hangman is the number one ranked guy. He hasn't been defeated in 2021. We're going to see more or less down the line Hangman going against Kenny Omega. We're not going to get it now, but we're going to get it soon. After the match, Hangman got distracted by Taz because Taz got the microphone, and he told Hangman that he should have eyes all around him. And while he's saying that, his Taz's son Hook hits Hangman behind the legs, and now Team Taz, which consists of, at this moment, Hook, Starks, and Brian Cage, is now beating up on Hangman. And before Brian Cage can powerbomb Hangman, the Dark Order comes out to make the save for their buddy. So now you got Hangman and Dark Order in the ring, while Hook, Ricky Starks, Brian Cage are running to the back. Next match was Penta versus Trent, and Penta is now with a guy named Alex something. That's his English interpreter, while Trent is managed by Orange Cassidy in this match. Penta ends up getting a win because Alex gets the mic. He tells Trent that he sucks, Orange Cassidy sucks, and his mom sucks. So Trent's real loving about his mother. So anybody that says anything wrong about his mom, he's willing to fight you for it. So he chases Alex into the ring. The referee is distracting by what's his name? Oh yeah, by Alex. No. Alex gets into the ring. The referee's Penta is distracting the rep. No, screw it. Alex gets in the ring. Penta is no. Here we go. Sorry, God. Alex gets in the ring. The referee is distracted by Trent because he knows he wants to get his hand on Alex. Orange Cassidy gets in the ring. He's behind Alex. Looks like he's about to do something. Penta gets in the ring and super kicks Orange Cassidy, and then Alex hits Trent in the head with the microphone, and then Penta hits Trent with the package pile driver. 1, 2, 3. That's how it went. Sorry with so many confusions. I was trying to remember that match, but I got the right order. Next thing after that was JR interviewing the Pinnacle, and MJF did most of the talking. You got Warlord talking in the middle of it, but then you had like MJF like doing majority of the talking after that. Even though you had FTR, who's great talkers, and Sean Spears, who's an alright talker from the clips and from the things I've seen him. If they allow him to do like interview base, you'll get a lot out of Sean Spears. He's a great talker in interview segments when you give him the time. But MJF did majority of the talking, and he was basically running down how Jericho is a GOAT, but he has everybody fooled. How he was latch on to stars and then try to take credit for what they have done because you're in the ring with Jericho. And he lists off names. He lists off the Young Bucks. He lists off Adam Page. He named off Cody, and he named off himself just to prove his point. And he basically told him that at Blood and Guts, my family is going to beat your guys up, and we're just better than you. After that, you had Hikaru Shida going against Tai Conti for the AEW Women's Championship. Hikaru Shida beat Tai Conti yet again. AEW is slowly working their women's division in the right direction. Their match quality for this match was good. Like I said last week, give AEW one more year or two. They're going to be legit one of the top, and they might even take over NXT in the women's division, even though NXT does sign a lot of female competitors. I'm pretty sure Tony Khan sees this, and he sees how he can tweak his women's division. And I know how Kenny sees this, because Kenny Omega kind of like has his hands in the women's division and who comes into the women's division. And I see AEW within a year or two becoming and taking over the women's division in America. I said it last week, and I'm standing by it. And this match proved it. After the match, Britt Baker came to the stage, and they showed it on the screen, the AEW women title rankings, and it showed that Ty Conti was number 1, Britt Baker was number 2. And now, since this match has happened, that busted Ty Conti out of the number 1 ranked spot and put Britt Baker on the number 1 ranked spot. So now you are seeing your next challenger for the AEW Women's Championship, Britt Baker, and you now going to start seeing within the next couple of weeks Hikaru Shida having her moments with Britt Baker. I promise you that's more or less happening. Tony Schiavone is now interviewing the Inner Circle in the ring, and that segment went a little too long for my liking. I mean, I get it. You got to kill time. I'm not sure how much time they say you can have in the ring, but I believe it went a little bit too long. But they got their point across, basically saying that we're going to beat you guys. They made fun of the Pinnacle's name. Jericho called him the pineapple until Sam Guevara had to nudge him and say Pinnacle. Oh yeah, that's right, Pinnacle. And he called MJF my jerk-off friend. I mean, Jericho was laying in, but not really laying into the Pinnacle. He was basically just trying to kill time. So it just ran on too long. That's my thing for that. And also, Santana, and I'm glad somebody tweeted this out. Somebody tweeted out that Santana looks like a star. We get that he's a tag team wrestler, but when you saw him in that segment, he looks like he could be a main event, like caliber single star in the future. And I'm glad somebody tweeted that out because I thought that when I saw him, I was like, okay, he looks cool. He can, he looks like he could do something in the future. And he's right because Santana, yes, he's a tag team wrestler, but just like Dax, I believe that certain tag teams have wrestlers in them that are proficient enough that they can be a singles competitor and also be a tag team wrestler. If you look at WWE, what they've done with Jey Uso these past months while his brother was injured, Jey Uso was known as being a tag team wrestler, but since he's been out there by himself, he's upped his game and he's been able to hang with some of the best wrestlers on the planet, whether it be Daniel Bryan or a Cesaro or even Roman Reigns when he had his match with Roman Reigns for the Universal title. They had, you were seeing Jay at his peak doing what he can do as a singles competitor. And that's what I believe you could do with Santana. Shoot, they did it with Dax. Dax had his match with Jericho, and he had a great match with Jericho. If they wanted to not really split Dax up, if they wanted to have him do an Arn Anderson type deal, where Arn Anderson in the past, or even a Tully Blanchard, Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard in the past in WCW, basically NWA era, those guys were individuals, but then you put them in a tag team, but they were still able to go after individual singles gold while still being tag team wrestlers. So I see that happening slowly in AEW later down the line. I see it. But anyway, that interview happens. After that interview, you have QT Marshall going against Billy Gunns. And QT Marshall ends up beating Billy Gunns by pinfall thanks to Anthony Ogogo, who comes down to the ring because QT has Aaron Soho, there we go, and the big a big dude, I can't remember his name right now. And while Billy Gunn is by himself, but his sons are on the opposite side of the barricade, Austin Gunn and Colton Gunn, and Aaron is pushing Billy into the ring post, and then you see Billy's sons jump over the barricade and attack Aaron and the big dude. While that's going on, they fight to the back. Anthony Ogogo comes out from the back and he walks up to Billy and just hits him right in the gut with the boxer's punch, which knocked out and basically rendered the jobber that Anthony Ogogo went against last week. This is basically the same punch. He punches Billy in the gut. QT hits Billy with the diamond cutter, gets the win. Next segment was The Elite, which consists of Kenny Omega, the AEW World Champion, the Young Bucks, AEW Tag Team Champions, Don Callis, the Invisible Hand, and the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows, in their own personal trailer, like a movie trailer, but a smaller trailer, and it has the Elite spray painted on the trailer. And they're inside there, they're talking about how they're the best, how without them there would be no All Elite Wrestling, there would be no major success that there once was in early 2014. They're mentioning and subtle hinting and jabbing at New Japan with how they made the Bullet Club shirt famous over here in America, how they revolutionized wrestling yet again, and such. And now they're making fun of Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston and the promo. And now it's time for Omega to talk. And Omega is looking into the camera and he says, you know what makes me sick to my stomach? And as he's talking, you hear a truck or some type of vehicle just honking their horn constantly throughout Kenny's time to speak. And Kenny has to stop and say, okay, can somebody tell this vehicle or this person to shut up, stop honking, see what's up? And as he's saying this, you see Carl Anderson and Doc Gallows look at the window. And then they have then they now cut the camera angle to the outside of the trailer as a truck honking at the trailer. And inside the truck is Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston. They drive the truck into the trailer. They just did it a little bit. They didn't run the truck right through it. They just hit it. And Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley get out the trailer, not the trailer, but the truck. And now they're trying to get into the trailer to fight the Elite. And once they get inside the trailer, the Elite are not in there. And you hear Moxley and Kingston have this witty banter between themselves. And Moxley breaks a window in the Elite's trailer, and he throws a pipe into the window, and Kingston's right next to the window, and he does that, and Kingston looks at Moxley and said, "Don't you probably want me to? I should be out of the way when you do that next time." And Moxley tells him, "You were walking, and you just stopped." Moxley said, "Yeah, but you kind of try to throw the window." They were just having funny banter. Look it up; you'll see what I'm talking about. Next segment was Christian going against Powerhouse Hobbs. After last week, Powerhouse attacked Christian, and now Christian's trying to get some retribution for that. Christian ends up beating Powerhouse by a pinfall after he hits him with the kill switch, formerly known as the Imprinter in WWE. And after the match, Ricky Starks comes out there to try to pick up Powerhouse, like wake him up to him. It's okay, bro. It's all right. And Christian and Ricky Starks just stare down at one another. And the announcers are playing it up like, did you guys just see that stare down? So that's telling you that, okay, Ricky Starks is next in line to go against Christian somewhere down these next couple weeks, more or less. And in the main event, you had Darby Allin going against the Jungle Boy for the TNT Championship. Great match for main event yet again. Darby Allin beat Jungle Boy by pinfall. And then after the match, Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky attacked both Jungle Boy and Darby Allin. And to make the save for Darby Allin was Archer and Sting. Archer came out there and he's about to chokeslam them both. Chokeslam both Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, but both Sky and Page hit Archer in the Family Jewels. And then Sting comes out with the Black Bat, and that leads to Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky leaving the ring. So the final thing you see was Darby Allin raising up the TNT Championship. On Impact Thursday, the Good Brothers beat Decay, which consists of Crazy Steve and Black Taurus. The Good Brothers beat Decay by pinfall. Tenille Dashwood beat Susan by pinfall. Susan is the formerly known as Su Yung for Impact Wrestling. Shira beat Jake something by pinfall because Rohit Raju distracted Jake while he was on the top rope. Jake was going for a big splash. He ends up missing the splash, and Shira hits Jake something with a skyfall. And that's how he got the win. Rich Swann comes out for an in-ring promo to hype up the pay-per-view of him versus Omega this Sunday at Rebellion. I'm going to get into that in a minute because I'm a little bit upset about this in a minute. Not about Impact's part, but about AEW's part. I'm going to get into for this whole main events thing. Rich Swann has his he does his in-ring promo talking about how he's upset, how at last week's press conference, he went to extend his hand out to Kenny Omega, but Kenny slapped him, how Kenny's taking him as a joke, how Kenny's not taking Rich as not serious, how Kenny thinks it's already predetermined that he's winning the Impact World Championship and such. Kenny Omega does interrupt Rich Swann, but it's by screen. They play a video of Kenny Omega and Don Callis somewhere, and Don Callis and Kenny's talking about how they are envisioning the match going down and Kenny beating Swann and adding on to his collection of championships. Wow, Kenny is the AEW World Champion. He is also the AAA Mega Champion. AAA is a wrestling promotion in Mexico. So Kenny Omega is the world champion of that, and he's now coming to Impact to take the Impact World Championship. Now they are manifesting that Kenny's going to win that. Kenny's just bragging throughout the whole match and saying how at Rebellion, Swann, you're going to put up a fight, but at the end of the day, you're going to fall to me, and I'm going to take that belt, and I'm going to just continue adding on to my collection. Once Kenny is gone, the lights go out and Moose's theme hits. Moose comes out on the ramp. He gets in the ring. He tells Swan, listen, you beat me to win that TNA championship. You are our champion over here. He was letting Swan know that, listen, you are the best. I have no doubt I'm picking you to retain the Impact / TNA World Championship and also win the AEW World Championship. He was basically reaffirming to Rich, you are the man, you got this. However, if you happen to lose this match and you lose the Impact / TNA World Championships, I'm coming after you. And I'm going to be the one to beat you up. And then after I'm done with you, I'm going to go after Omega and go after the Impact TNA Championships. He was not fond of having to repeat that to Swan. He was basically giving him that old, if you grew up with a parent that gave you that look and that told you, listen, if you screw up, I'm going to hurt you. That's that kind of feel that you got from Moose to Swan. If you mess up in this match or you do anything, you're going to get yourself hurt. So that's the kind of message he was relaying to him. Now, the next thing on the docket for Impact was Jordynne Grace going against Kiera Hogan. Jordynne Grace won by disqualification because when she had Kiera Hogan in a pinning predicament, Tasha Steelz came out and beat down Jordynne Grace, and Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan were beating down Jordynne Grace, and then then some music hit, and it was Rachel Ellering. Rachel Ellering came out to save Jordynne Grace from Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. Rachel Ellering is the daughter of Paul Ellering, who is famous for managing Legion of Doom, or better known as the Road Warriors, in the late 90s, early 90s, late 80s. And he made his resurgence back in the professional wrestling industry by managing another tag team in the late 2010s, the Authors of Pain, when they were in the NXT. And he's also a Hall of Famer. So Rachel Ellering is the daughter of that guy. And she was signed by NXT, and I believe she got released 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 years ago. So she hasn't been on the scene of television for a minute. And now she comes back. Hold up, was it 2 years ago or a year ago? 1 and 2, either way. I don't mean to disrespect. She comes back. She's on the scene. She's helping Jordynne Grace get rid of Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan. And this is the tag partner that Jazz said that I have a person to replace myself for you to go against Tasha Steelz and Kiera Hogan for the Impact Knockouts Tag Team Championships. So it will be Jordynne Grace and Rachel Ellering going against Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz for the Impact Knockouts Tag Team Championships. And in the main event, it was Eric Young versus Eddie Edwards, and Eric Young beat Eddie Edwards by pinfall. Now going off to Friday Night SmackDown. To open up the show, Cesaro, he started out with a promo talking about how he wants the Universal title, how Roman Reigns blew him off. Seth cuts him off and says, listen, I'm Seth Rollins. On my worst day and on your best day, you couldn't beat me. It would have to be a divine interaction from Mother Nature and God that they had a rainstorm that put my WrestleMania feeling in a funk. And that's the reason how you beat me. And Cesaro told him, listen, I'm having a great day. How's your day? And he's basically amping up the fact that, listen, you just said on my best day and on your worst day, you couldn't beat me. So Cesaro's trying to take him up on that offer, saying, listen, get in the ring. We can do this now. My day, I'm having a great day right now. But before Seth's even about to respond to it, Jey Uso comes out, and Jey Uso tells Cesaro, listen, the big man, the head of the table, he blew you off last week. He's not paying you any attention, no focus, no mind, no matter. You mean nothing to us. You try to disrespect me. So now I'm have to come and get you. Before Jay gets down into the ring, Seth has to tell him, listen, Cesaro has the high ground right now. If me and you surround the ring and he says it low, like I did, like me and him did in the Shield, he has no way of getting out of the ring. And Jay takes him up on offer. So as Seth and Jay are surrounding the ring, Daniel Bryan's music hits. He runs in the ring. He's right there with Cesaro. He grabs a mic and he tells him, listen, I see it's you two. Why don't we get into a fight right now? And he starts egging at the idea, starts saying, why are you guys walking up this? Why are you guys walking up the stage? Oh, okay. This is another setup. So where's Roman at? He's going to come out here and try to attack us. It's going to be a 3-on-2. And Daniel Bryan told him, listen, if that's going to happen, I'm glad to be right next to Cesaro because Cesaro is a great man that I can trust to fight with me back to back. Roman Reigns music hits. He gets onto the ramp. He calls Daniel Bryan and Cesaro losers. And he puts them in different categories. He calls Cesaro a casino loser, saying that you have the best, worst luck he has ever seen. And he called Daniel Bryan a just straight up loser. Loser at life, loser at everything. And that was it. And this led to a tag match of Cesaro and Daniel Bryan going against Seth Rollins and Jey Uso. It was a great opening match. If I had to give you the best opening match of the night of this whole week, was that match. It was Cesaro and Cesaro and Bryan going against Seth and Jay. The best opening match of the week. And Cesaro and Daniel Bryan beat Jey Uso and Seth Rollins because Seth Rollins leaves and walks out from the match and leaves Jey Uso to fend for himself. And Jay ends up eating a running knee to the face by Daniel Bryan. And that's how Daniel Bryan and Cesaro ends up winning. After the match, Cesaro swings Jey Uso in the ring all around. And Daniel Bryan's on the mic and he talks and he says, Roman Reigns, come out. You need to accept Cesaro's challenge. You need to accept it. You need to come out here, save your cousin. You're supposed to be the head of the table. You're supposed to be the leader of the Samoan dynasty and all these names and all these accolades. Jay has come out there to save you in every match that you've been in. Now is your time to save Jay. Nobody comes out to save Jay. Roman stays in the back, and Daniel Bryan tells Cesaro, listen, the reason why Roman's not coming out is because he's afraid of you. He's afraid of he's afraid that he will lose that Universal title to you. That's the reason why he's not taking you up on your challenge. And they continuously to swing Jay in the ring, and Cesaro let go, and then he ends up hitting Jay with an uppercut. That's how that segment ends. The next thing that happened is Tamina. Yes, the next match was Tamina going against Nia Jax. Tamina's out there with Natalya in her corner, while Nia Jax has Reginald and Shayna Baszler in her corner. And Tamina ends up winning Nia Jax because Nia gets distracted by Shayna and Reginald. And that's how that thing ends. I hope this storyline with Reginald and Shayna Baszler and Nia Jax ends. It ran its course. It's missed the boat. It's time for that to end. It's time for Nia Jax and Shayna just to be back on their dominance of a tag team, lose the belts, and then just start just causing a rampage rage, or even have them go against one another to see who is the best out of that tag team. So one can just lean over that fact over the other. I'm just throwing out some ideas for Shayna and Nia because this storyline with Reginald has to end, and I mean dead it quick. The next thing that happened was KO. He had an interview, and because he was going against Apollo Crews next for the Intercontinental title. And in the interview, Big E interrupts and tells Kevin Owens, you jumped the line. You know that match for the Intercontinental title is mine. You know I was next in line. You jumped the line. Yeah. KO tells him, listen, you lost the match at WrestleMania. Yeah, you might be next in line, but listen, I'm right here. I'm having the match next. Too bad, so sad. And once I beat Apollo Crews, the Intercontinental title will be mine. So they leave the interview with those two chuckling it up, and then Kevin Owens slaps Biggie on the shoulders, and then they both turn to stoic, like that. Like the chuckles were fake. The ha 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 ha, and it went to straight flat face. That's how they leave this segment, and now you go off. Kevin Owens is walking off to the ring. So now, next thing you see after commercial was Kevin Owens going against Apollo, who had General Aziz with him for the Intercontinental Championship. KO ends up losing to Apollo because General Aziz gets on the apron, it distracts Kevin Owens, and Apollo Crews is able to hit him with a roll-up. And he pins him 1, 2, 3. Apollo retains the title. Kevin Owens gets up, hits the Stone Cold Stunner on Apollo. And then as soon as he hits Apollo with the stunner, General Aziz is in the ring. He grabs Kevin Owens by the throat. He hits him with the Nigerian nail, which is the Samoan spike. If you watch wrestling in the 2005, 2006 era, you had Umaga, who is a part of the Samoan dynasty. He had that finish. He basically grabbed you by the throat and he just jams his thumb right into your throat. That's the finish. General Aziz does that, and now you have Kevin Owens just in the ring, just dead to the world. And Sami Zayn just gets in the ring and starts dancing all around Kevin Owens, just making a mockery out of it. And you just hear the commentary of Pat McAfee just straight up calling Sami Zayn's dance moves lit, and just prancing about how Sami's just getting it in. It's a gifable moment. That's exactly what Sami Zayn provided in that instance. He provided a gifable moment for anybody just to use as a gift. The next thing that happened was Apollo Crews being interviewed backstage, and he talks about how people in Nigeria are loving him. His ancestors are happy about him beating Kevin Owens. He's going on, and Big E comes from around the corner and smashes Apollo into the wall, and it throws him into some crates, and officials have to get Big E off of Apollo. And then General Aziz comes from the locker room, and then he leans and tries to take care of Apollo, and he asks Apollo, what happened? I was only gone for a couple of seconds. What happened? And next thing you see is General Aziz gets up and he just looks off into the distance, mad and upset. So now you see that Big E has really made General Aziz mad. So next week it'll be Big E getting his championship opportunity rematch against Apollo Crews for the Intercontinental title, but he should look out because General Aziz is upset. More or less, he's going to interfere in this match and cause a disqualification. I predict that next week. And and the next thing after that was Aleister Black, who's been gone for God knows how long, the better part of 6 months. I'll give it that 6 or 5 months. He's been gone without no trace on WWE content, and he now is back, or at least he was back in a vignette. And a vignette is to show you, like, okay, this guy is a showcase. It's a showcase of him telling you what he is, telling you who he is. That's basically what a vignette is. So they had one for Aleister Black. He tells a story about how he's a dragon, and that is an old fable tale. It's convoluted for me, so I'm not really sure how to really tell this fable tale. But what he's basically getting at is he's reprimanding the parents of today's society, saying that you guys raised up monsters worse than you guys were, but now I'm here to lead those monsters into a new era, if you will. That's what he's trying to say with his vignette. Hopefully next week they'll divulge more into it, but that's what I got for this one. It was very convoluted. And then in your main event, it was the Mysterios, or Rey Mysterio and his son Dominic Mysterio, going against the team of Alpha Academy of Otis and Chad Gable. Rey Mysterio and his son Dominic beat the Alpha Academy by pinfall once Rey Mysterio hit Chad Gable with the 619 and then the frog splash, and got the 1-2-3. The final segment of SmackDown was Cesaro and Daniel Bryan inside the ring, and Daniel Bryan is calling out Roman Reigns to accept Cesaro's challenge. And in the mix of all that, Roman Reigns, Jey Uso, and Paul Heyman all come out. They come out, and Roman grabs the mic and he tells Cesaro, "Who are you to dare and try to ask for anything? You're nobody. You are nothing. You're nothing to me. You're nothing." And then he looks at Daniel Bryan and he says, "But I have a challenge for you." Matter of fact, leads into that. He tells Cesaro, "You don't challenge me. I make the challenges. I'm the guy that makes the challenges around here." So then he turns his attention to Daniel Bryan in the ring. He tells Daniel Bryan, "Listen, I don't like you. I never have liked you. I don't like you. But I'm going to give you another opportunity at this Universal Championship next week." And Cesaro, I thought he was going to say, "You can't be seriously thinking about it." But he tells Daniel Bryan, "You have to take this opportunity. You have to take this. You have to take that title off of him." So Cesaro's playing the friend role of backing up a man that he respects wholeheartedly. So before Daniel Bryan can even say that he accepts, Roman Reigns says, "But on this one condition, that if," and then he has to correct himself, "when he wins," and he being Roman Reigns, once Roman Reigns wins, Daniel Bryan cannot show himself up on SmackDown. He has to get away. He has to go bye-bye. So basically, next week's match, because Daniel Bryan does end up accepting, is going to be Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns, title versus leaving of brand. So if Daniel Bryan loses and he doesn't beat Roman Reigns for the Universal title, Daniel Bryan will leave SmackDown. So more than likely, we'll probably see him either on Raw or, surprisingly, on NXT. Maybe. I'll shout that NXT in just maybe a little bit because they need Pete Dunne to do something. Because Pete Dunne's not going against Karrion Kross right now. So I can see Daniel Bryan going down there just to wrestle with the young talent. So next week you will get Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns for the Universal title versus not career, but leaving of brand. And now I'm about to give you my Rebellion predictions for this Sunday, Impact Wrestling's pay-per-view Rebellion. In the Knockouts Tag Team title match, it will be Jordynne Grace and Rachel Ellering going against Kiera Hogan and Tasha Steelz. I predict Jordynne Grace and Rachel Ellering to win the Knockouts Tag titles. It will be Chris Sabin, Eddie Edwards, James Storms, and Willie Mack going against Violent by Design, which consists of Diener, Joe Doring, Rhino, and Eric Young. I see Sabin, Edwards, Mack, and Storm beating Violence by Design. In the last man standing match, Sami Callihan going against Trey Miguel. I see Sami Callihan beating Trey Miguel and leading Sami Callihan on a upwards trajectory for the Impact title somewhere down the line. I see it's Matt Cardona, formerly known as Zack Ryder, going against Kurt Hawkins. Oh, formerly known as Kurt Hawkins, but now his name is Brian Myers. And I see Matt Cardona beating Brian Myers. In the triple threat match for the X Division title, you have Ace Austin going against TJP and Josh Alexander. I am choosing Ace Austin to retain his X Division title. In the Knockouts title match, it is Deonna Purrazzo going against Tennille Dashwood. I am picking Deonna Purrazzo to retain the Knockouts Championship. And for the Impact Tag titles, the Good Brothers going against the Finjuice, David Finlay and Juice Robinson. I am picking Good Brothers to beat FinJuice and win back the Impact Tag titles, which will lead into this. Kenny Omega versus Rich Swann, title versus title, Impact title for AEW Championship. I am picking Kenny Omega to win that. So now you have the elite of Kenny, the Young Bucks, and the Good Brothers all draped in gold. So anytime you see them, you'll see them all with championships. That's what I'm predicting. And hopefully, with this pay per view, after it's off and done, you will see Impact wrestlers start to make their way over to AEW television. And hopefully, we start seeing more of the merging of this whole co-brand opening of the Forbidden Door business. Because right now, the hype up for the Omega versus Swann main event match has only been pumped up by Impact Wrestling. None of it has been making a way onto AEW television except for this week, whenever the Elite were talking in their trailer and Don Callis threw in the fact whenever he was introducing Kenny Omega as the soon-to-be Impact World Champion. And they had one commercial this week of advertising the Impact pay-per-view Rebellion, where their world champion, AEW World Champion, Kenny Omega, will be going against Rich Swann, Impact Wrestling World Champion, for title versus title. You would think that your big world champion would be telling somebody in the office, yo, you need to advertise this match so the other company can continue to want to work with us, so we continue wanting to work with them. You would think you would try to advertise that, but I don't work in the television business yet of that in depth to know, okay, did Impact not put in money to like sweeten the deal for TNT to throw that in? Did Impact not, what fell apart in this? Because this match should be on the lips of every professional wrestling fan, not just fans that watch Impact Wrestling and just happen to watch AEW. This match should be on the lips of every professional wrestling fan's lips. This match alone. To have AEW World Champion to go after another company's World Championship and possibly win it and then elevate that company's title and that company to a whole higher standard, you would think AEW will want to put money behind this. And you would think Impact will want to almost, not going to say go all in. Haha, you get what I did there. And I'm going to just say this, All In was a pay-per-view back in, I'll say 2018, that the Young Bucks and Cody put a lot of money behind. It was them self-financing this pay-per-view. It was a big success. So that's why I say the All In, the whole deal, which led to, from that pay-per-view, led into the creation of All Elite. So that's what I meant with that hee hee ha ha insider joke. But getting back to my point, you would think Impact almost wants to go all in with this thing, because whenever Kenny Omega wins the Impact Championship, Kenny Omega has to be on Impact television. So that means Impact gets more eyes on the product, because Kenny Omega is going to be going against different talent that other people have never even heard of. Kenny Omega going against Ace Austin, or Kenny Omega going against a Eddie Edwards, or a Sami Callihan, or even a Chris Bay, or matter of fact, even a Josh Alexander, just to say, those type of matches interest me, not just because I'm a wrestling fan, but it's something different. You've seen Kenny Omega on AEW. He only has so much more people that he actually could wrestle right now. So with this influx of this merger that they have, you should see more people trying to jump in. But anyway, getting to the point, I'm just disappointed AEW didn't try to put more money behind, like, promoting this thing. Impact did, because that's their show and this is their pay-per-view. But whenever you're the outsider jumping into this, I would think with you being at the center stone of this pay-per-view, your company that you have on your back, AEW, will want to like prop this up as, look at our guy, he's on this, he's going to win this company's championship. I would think AEW should have put more money behind it, but that's the one thing. Stone Cold's A&E biography, I watched it. It was great. I knew about a lot of the things that they said in that. I I used to listen to some of his old podcasts. Well, he still has a podcast now. I used to listen to some of his podcasts, and he would talk about some of the things in the documentary. It talked about him leaving uh, Texas and him starting out in professional wrestling. And he mentioned a story about how at one point he was just living off of tuna and potatoes. And then once the tuna ran low, he just lived off potatoes. And now how he had to, this is the only time he ever asked his parents for money. He asked his mother, say, hey, instead of sending me something for my birthday, how about you just send me $40? And that's all I want for my birthday. And he said within the next days, my mother sent those two $20 bills, and he was good. Yeah, they talked about how Austin became Stone Cold Steve Austin and the creation of the character Stone Cold Steve Austin. They even broke down into him with his neck, the match with him and Owen Hart in 97 of SummerSlam. How he talked about how he didn't break his neck. He was close to it, but he had like some type of fracture in his neck. He didn't break it. He just had a fracture in it. And he talked about, just watch the A&E documentary. It's a great thing, which led to WWE selling a anime series to Crunchyroll. I said it right. WWE selling a show to Crunchyroll. Crunchyroll is an anime streaming platform for all the Japanese cartoons, but that's basically what it is. And with that being said, WWE is slowly getting back up on the mainstream, because and by the way, that documentary of Stone Cold Steve Austin did increase. It was the highest rating of A&E in a long time. So that tells you the power that wrestling fans still have on the market for this culture in America. Whatever you want to say, wrestling still in the higher echelon, more than what people would like to say. Getting to the point of this here, Stone Cold Steve Austin's biography, documentary, whatever you want to call it, was good. And even they even got into the names that he had before he became Stone Cold Steve Austin, like Chili McFang or Chili McFreeze, or a whole lot of different names, which was silly and ridiculous. But thank God he landed on Stone Cold Steve Austin. And I wanted, before I do leave off this episode, I want to leave with this. This came just a couple days ago. Mark Carrano, who was a guy that works in talent relations for WWE, in a high position for talent relations. And talent relations is whenever you sign talent to WWE, you have to tell them, okay, you're going to be working this, you're going to be working in this arena, you have to be here by this time. It's basically almost like you're the wrestlers' agents per se. You have to tell them if they have them do a charity event here, or an event this way or that way, or something like that. That's all a talent relations is. So Mark Carrano got fired this week off of this. Last week, WWE had their roster cuts, and in that roster cut was a female wrestler named Mickie James, a veteran, if you will. And she tweeted out a tweet, and she tagged Vince McMahon in it, and it basically stated that this is how my belongings came to me. And in the photo, in the tweet, it had a photo of Mickie James stuff in a black bag and in a box, and on the bag it had Mickey on it. She was showing you how somebody in WWE's corporate headquarters basically disrespected her by putting her stuff inside a black bag and inside a box and then sending it off to her. You could have sent it off a better way if you wanted my stuff out of there. You could have called me up and told me, hey, you need to get your stuff out of this thing by this certain time. You could do a whole lot of other things, but you had somebody disrespect me, and I don't appreciate it. That's what this led into. And now you had tweets from John Laurinaitis, who is the head talent relations, and also in talent relations, they tell you if you're hired and or fired. So that kind of told you that John Laurinaitis had to fire Mark Carrano. So John Laurinaitis is the head of talent relations, and then he came out and talked about how this does not represent WWE. I'm sorry to you, Mickie James, for this happening to you. The person that did this no longer works for WWE. Stephanie McMahon came out and said the same thing that John Laurinaitis said. And then Triple H came out in a tweet and said the exact same thing as John and Stephanie said in their tweet. So Mark Carrano did get fired, and now that leads to a whole big situation, not in my mind, but just a lot of wrestlers didn't per se come out, but thanks to Fightful Select, talked to somebody Fightful, and they said they didn't use the wrestler's name, but they were saying now Mark Carrano is a snake, and how certain wrestlers were happy to see him go and all this and such. I never met the guy. I never worked in WWE a day in my life. I plan on working somewhere in the entertainment industry, because entertainment never dies, because you always need something. Like right now, you're listening to podcast, me talking right now. And more or less, you're going to look on your YouTube and your Instagram and Twitter. Getting to my point here. He got fired because he didn't have somebody do a package right, or he did something wrong. Either way, he was in charge of that. So whenever somebody does something stupid, all the blowback directly goes straight to him. So he had to take the fall for this. So I'm not sure what happens in that. I never worked there. I never worked that type of job. So I'm not sure what to say. But what I do know is you could have called somebody up and said, "Ayo, you need to come out here and get your stuff. You need to do this," or whatever the case may be. Or talk to them and say, "How do you want your stuff delivered to you since you can't drive down here?" Something like that. You don't package it in a black box. Not a black box, but in a black, like, trash bag, and then send it off in a brown box. That's disrespectful. I would have been pissed off myself. So I'm glad that it got called out. I'm not sure how to feel about somebody losing their job. I'm not sure about all that, but hey, that's not my problem. That's not all for me to say. But anyway, I'll get out of here. Next week, I hope to recap you of what happened with the AEW / Impact Wrestling Rebellion pay-per-view joint, to tell you who won and who lost. I'll be looking at it on Twitter to see about how many people tweet about it and how many people talk about it. That's how I'll know in real time who won and who lost and which one of my predictions is right. But I can almost guarantee that Kenny Omega is winning the AEW and, well, retaining the AEW championship and winning the Impact championship. And we'll see how much this blends more into my idea that, okay, we're going to see more Impact stars jumping over to AEW just to cause some ruckus. But that's my thought process for this. This has been Wrestling Highlights of the Week. I have been your host, Gerald Garrett. I'll see you guys next week, and we'll talk about it. Well, at least I will. Bye now. I'm tired, you tired, Jesus wept.